The general principles of the very first patent, which I would say was first generation, didn't have the capacity of the reagents that we make now, was originally licensed and developed reasonably well initially, but then the company was acquired and there were a lot of changes. What didn't happen was a further development of the next generation and the next generation patent. So about a year and a half ago, I was somewhat frustrated by this. So I called up a really good friend and colleague who'd been involved in the original development of the product and said, you know, this technology is not being moved forward. It should be being moved forward because we've got so much better reagents now than we had in the first place. I think we could really hit all 519 kinases. We could develop successful reagents for really intractable ones that people are struggling to measure. And he sort of said, okay, let's do it. So we founded the company our ideas started to nucleate in the early part of 2015. So we founded AssayQuant in July of 2015 and started to develop how would we approach getting things set up and really getting to a stage where we were making reagents and being able to reach out to the community saying, we are now fully developing this technology. During the fall, we hired our first person. We found a laboratory space under the umbrella of a larger company where my co-founder, Dr. Eric Schaefer, also has a colleague. So we had lab space. We had the ability to develop reagents much more quickly under these conditions. And we literally opened for business on February 1st, 2016, with a set of reagents, and we started communicating with people who we thought would have interest. We don't exactly have a shelf full of reagents. We're at the moment reaching out to individual companies to form partnerships where they say, this is our kinase, we really need a good reagent for this, and we'll check where we're at or we'll develop it further for them. That's allowing us now to be already bringing in revenue to really expand our product line. We have a landing website for AssayQuant. We'll soon have a fully developed website. But as each person contacts us, we're able to have a dialogue with them, find out what they need, and hone reagents to their specifications. And that's really a huge advantage to a lot of companies because they're actually getting reagents that aren't out there just yet. We're also reaching out to academia because I give talks talking about the technology and the reagent type, and people ask me, and we find, we contact them and say, do you have needs for these reagents? And we do an academic pricing structure for people as well. So we have moved incredibly fast. Both Eric and I are sort of amazed by the progress. And what we want to do is really be able to show people these reagents can be readily developed, and that what's really fantastic about the technology is it doesn't require some big hunk of instrumentation that costs you $100,000. It requires a simple fluorescent plate reader that's in almost every lab in the country, frankly, or people have access to their neighbors. So the assays can be run in high throughput, so 96 assays at a time, 384, 1536, higher and higher format for high throughput. So that's a huge advantage to people. And the assays, unlike the majority of other assays for kinases, are a continuous kinetic analysis. So for many kinases, people use assays where they run a reaction and at 30 minutes they take a measurement. Nobody knows what's happened between 0 and 30 minutes. But in our assay, we follow the time course of things, which is really data rich, and it's very meaningful in a lot of modern drug discovery because the types of inhibitors that people are building now are quite sophisticated, and they need to be able to probe the mechanism of action of their inhibitors with assays that produce the kind of data that the ones produced in AssayQuant make. And our assay line is called PhosphoSens, so sensing phosphorylation, and we've trademarked that, so that's pretty exciting. We are very interested in reaching out to industry and developing strategic partnerships that meet their needs. So that's a very key thing, where a company may have a very privileged, confidential target they don't want to disclose. They can't go out randomly looking for assays. We sign agreements with them and keep confidentiality and make reagents very specifically for them. We have a vision, though, of longer term going into possibly, I mean, this is a dream of mine, the personalized medicine sector, where people's tissues could potentially be profiled for kinase activities, and tissues could be analyzed during a therapeutic regime to see if the kinases are responding well. Because with many cancers these days, it's not clear the therapeutic path to follow. So the way kinase detection agents could be employed is to actually profile the tissue and ask which are the dysregulated kinases, and then let some of that information help cooperate with a diagnostic and therapeutic strategy, where you would literally follow the patient through the profile. So in the longer term, we'd like to reach out to the more clinical and biomedical partnerships, where we can't do that work, but we can provide reagents to do that work. And another thing that I'm really excited about is the potential to make sort of chips that you could analyze 12 kinases at a time in quick, something that's really plug and play. I mean, it's going to have to go quite a lot further along. We need engineering partnerships then to make fluidics devices. But if we have the reagents at the front end, and those are being continually vetted for selectivity against kinases, we are ready to meet the biomedical engineering tools people to put those reagents into diagnostic kits, where a technician can literally plug a chip into an instrument and diagnose a sample. We know we have selectivity and sensitivity with many of our reagents, but they're not being employed in that area. So right now, it's reaching out with what we have, gaining momentum, but all the time we're developing new reagents that could face the personalized medicine community or could face the engineering community. So everything we're doing is literally seed stock for those future endeavors, and they're reaching out.